On that, I think the two words that we need to remind ourselves is that we must be prudent. We said that in the last meeting, but we are confident the way we are going. Our baseline has proved quite solid. We see inflation going down in a sustained manner. Actually, the last numbers we got, they proved our forecast correct. After lowering the projection that we had for inflation coming out of the forecast of September and December last year, we have today lower numbers than we were expecting by then, but now our forecast is proving right, and that gives us confidence that inflation will fall to 2% in a timely manner, as we like to put it. Timely manner now is during 2025. And as this confidence builds up with this forecast that we are getting right, I think we can look at every meeting and take decisions that give us the level of prudence.
There are loads of uncertainties out there, of course, which you cannot factor in completely because you don't know what happens. So is it not right to keep on cutting reasonably, because also given the economy and that we can't wait until we hit the 2% target?
Well, we were very happy, and rightly so, with the numbers of the first quarter this year, because after 5 quarters with no growth at all, finally the euro area shows signs of some increase in activity. But the latest numbers we have for the second quarter were not that good. So we are still hesitant on the way we look at growth. Again, I think the baseline is solid, but if we see deviations from this path of economic activity, we must have some concerns about it. That's one thing that I want to be very positive, and that's the labor market. The labor market is proving in Europe the biggest pillar of stability and income growth for our citizens. It has increased in numbers, much more flexible, dynamic. So this is something that we have to watch very closely, because if we happen to get bad news from the labor market, then I think the European economy may be in trouble, and we have to be prepared to act.
Yeah, then it would mean, in your view, that we would need to get more forceful rate cuts, right?
Exactly. We have to understand that where we come from. I mean, COVID, big recession, then these supply shocks that hit the euro area one at a time. First the energy, oil shock, then the war, the food prices. So this was a very difficult moment, but we were able to tackle it in globally. It's not only monetary policy, it's all policies played together in Europe during this time. And that's the best source of confidence that we can have to the future. Our firms, our workers, governments, of course also the ECB, we did the right things during this period, and we must be actually proud of that. We should not be playing always this bad news that, there's lots of concern and uncertainty and we don't know what to do. No, we knew exactly what we had to do at any moment in time, so it's not going to be different in the next few meetings. And we are data dependent, so yes, every meeting is open for us to take a decision that suits the evolution of the numbers we see.
How well can the ECB decouple from the Fed's policy stance?
Well, that's not new. I mean, if you look to the recent history of the Fed and the ECB, we have to look at the numbers of our economies. It's the American economy runs different from the European one. Honestly, I think the European economy is in a much more stable path than the American one, because we didn't have the fiscal stimulus that we observed in the US. Actually, the difference is huge between what happened in the US and in the euro area. The labor market in Europe didn't put pressure on wages that then may have inflationary impact, whereas in the US, real wages are growing at already quite some time, and the labor market is putting pressure that it's not happening in Europe. So those economies run differently, so policies must adapt. If you call it this a decoupling, the decoupling is of a different source and not exactly on the monetary policy front alone.
So you mean the decoupling of the United States from Europe has already happened through the fiscal space?
Through the fiscal space, through the way consumption played out in the US that didn't play in Europe. In June 2021, consumption in the US was already at pre-COVID level. We took in Europe more than 1 year to complete this, and only at the end of 2022. So those economies are synchronized in a sense, but they don't feel exactly the same path at any moment in time. So the employment creation in Europe, the churning, the rotation in the labor market that we see today in Europe, the mobility that we have in the European labor market, I am confident that will pay out in terms of productivity and growth. We must be patient. So monetary policy also has something to do with it, because we need to accommodate enough for the labor market, for the economy, to continue this path of increase.
Yeah, so, but in other words, you seem to be confident that we can also, with monetary policy, decouple a little bit from the United States?
I would rather prefer that we are more synchronized. Actually, when we had to increase rates, monetary policy was with the level of synchronization that was the highest level in history. That was very good, because the spillovers from policy from one jurisdiction to the other are very important for us. So if I would prefer a state, I would prefer us to move together. But we need to care about the reality of the economy in the euro area. And that is one of low growth, very strong employment, and inflation going down faster than it went up. We need to have inflation at 2%. We want to have inflation at 2% in the medium term next year, and that's where we want to hedge.